if you wanted that vaginal birth in the past and it didn't go as planned, you didn't get the outcome that you wanted, there is some potential residue that you're bringing into this birth. Hey everyone, my name is Lavonne and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am super excited today to talk to you VBAC parents, those of you that have had a cesarean in the past and are maybe considering having a vaginal birth after cesarean, whether that be 1, 2, 3, maybe more cesareans. The recommendation is 1 or 2. But I want to give you some tips for how to mentally prepare for your VBAC. If you've seen our core values, if you've followed along the way through everything that we do, one of my biggest tips for you is that your mind is the most powerful tool that you have. It is the most powerful thing that you have that you can control when leading into your labor and birth. So for those of you that want that VBAC, you want to have that vaginal birth after you've had a cesarean, I want to give you some tips for how to train your mind and how to set yourself up, therefore, for success. Because we know that when our mind is right, it helps support our labor hormones. And for labor to work better, for you to go into spontaneous labor potentially, for you to progress in your labor and ultimately have that vaginal birth that you want. And so my number 5 tip, I'll go from 5 to 1 for you, is find strategies to help you downregulate your nervous system. Okay, so I'm gonna explain this really quickly here. When I say downregulate your nervous system, hear me out. That means to bring you into a calm state in your body. There's one thing that your mind can say, like, oh, I am calm. Sarah, you are calm. Be calm. You're calm. You could be calm, versus to actually feel it in your body. And so there's lots of brain hacks. Grounding techniques is what you would start into. Mind you, I do have an entire visualizations class that I'm especially going to recommend to you to help find those calming techniques and find potentially visualization, breath work, calming mind control to bring you into that parasympathetic state, because we know that the physiology works better when we're calm versus where our nervous systems are turned on into a fight or flight state. Therefore, when you're afraid, and honestly, you VBAC mamas, to be honest, you have a very special place in my heart, because you're like sort of this very unique population of birthing people that have unique needs. I think there's a few of those different pockets. Everyone has unique needs, but you have very specific needs because you already have context for what birth is. And potentially, if you wanted that vaginal birth in the past and it didn't go as planned, you didn't get the outcome that you wanted, there is some potential residue that you're bringing into this birth, which I'm going to get to in a second. But along the way, the goal is that instead of taking all of that in, that you find actual physical strategies to downregulate your nervous system so that your body enters into labor and maintains throughout labor in a state of calm. It's gonna set you up for VBAC success. Number 4 is take a hospital tour. Now, if you're delivering in the hospital that you gave birth in the past, I am still going to tell you and recommend for you to take a hospital tour, okay? Because you need to begin to create new context for this upcoming birth. If you don't know the hospital you're giving birth in, even more reason to familiarize yourself with your environment. Now, you can take my free hospital visualization, and that will sort of talk you through and help you envision what the environment you want is and how to set yourself up for a positive and calm birth experience. So definitely do that, but you need to go and you need to envision yourself in this space and become comfortable in your environment as much as possible. Now, I know that people are going to be on different spectrums. Some of you, your only context for the hospital is a really negative one. And some of you might be nurses and you're like, the hospital is my life. I love it there and everything in between. And so the goal being that you want to know the environment you're going to and remove the most new that you can remove. So all those surprises, all those things that can kind of throw your nervous system out of whack and kind of like wake it up and be like, oh, what's this? I'm afraid, right? We want to remove as much of that as possible. This also goes for those of you that maybe aren't VBAC parents. Take a hospital tour, familiarize yourself with your environment. My number 3 tip for VBAC success in your mind is for you to know and or learn to feel comfortable with your provider. And by provider, I mean your doctor or your midwife, the one that's guiding your care. Now, some of this might be realistic for other people of you. This may not be realistic at all. Okay, you're like, I will not know who's going to deliver me. And so, in that case, I want you to begin to envision letting go of the people in the room shaping your experience so much. The reality is that you're going to see your doctor at the end of your birth for either the vaginal birth or the C-section, no matter what you end up doing along the way. And you can always just kind of like tap out. You're like, I'm over this. I want a C-section. You can always do that for a VBAC. You can't do that quite as easily for somebody who hasn't had a C-section in the past. But the goal would be that you would get to know them. You would ask them the questions that you need, that you would cultivate a relationship with your provider so that when they show up in labor, it's not nervous system on, I'm freaking out, who are you, right? And if it is, then at least you've seen them in the past, you know who they are, and then you're learning to build a relationship with your care team in the hospital. That's why you take your hospital tour, and then you're building that relationship with your nurse along the way. Now, I am also, this is totally a bonus tip, I'm also going to recommend you hiring a doula. If you really want that vaginal birth, the outcomes are extremely clear. The evidence is extremely clear that by having continuous labor support, it sets you up for a vaginal birth. All right. It helps with pain scores. It helps with epidural use. It helps with NICU stays. It's like one of the most effective things you can do to set you up for success. So I am on top of that going to recommend you having a doula. But more than anything, I really want you to learn and cultivate your relationship with your provider and learn to trust them and to sort of allow them to be a comfortable person in your room as much as possible. My number 2 tip is take a VBAC class. Of course, I am here. I've dedicated my whole life to education and support. I believe it's the number one thing you can do to transform your experience, to set you up for success. There's lots that's going to happen along the way that you cannot control, but you walking in with the foundational knowledge, understanding the unique things that come with having a trial of labor or a vaginal birth after cesarean is going to set you up for success. Take it with your partner, take it with your doula, anybody that's going to be there, help them be all on the same page. Now, what I do in my VBAC class is I help set you up with realistic expectations or the things that might come up along the way that you're like, wait, in my last birth, this was totally fine, but why is this a thing now? For you to understand why things might be recommended differently, what might be recommended differently, and then of course know that you have full control over your experience, but you want to make confident decisions, not fear-based ones, okay? Along those lines, you'll learn in my class that I actually don't recommend the VBAC calculator. I think it sets your brain up for unsuccess in that way. And so don't do the VBAC calculator. Don't listen to your provider if they're telling you you have a 41% chance of a VBAC based on some algorithm you put in a computer. Your experience is your own. There's so much you can control. There's so many ways that you can set yourself up for success. And I teach you all of those in my VBAC class. Now, especially for those of you who maybe want to go without an epidural, but even if you don't, the goal also is that you can cope through labor. So of course I'm going to recommend my coping with labor class, and then I'm also going to recommend doing some visualizations to downregulate your nervous system. It all kind of plays in with each other, but walk in informed, whether that be through YouTube videos, through books that you read, through articles. Be discerning about the information that you take in because there's so much information out there, and really surround your brain with information that feels empowering, that feels positive, that reminds you what you can control and doesn't scare you, but is honest about the risks involved so that you as the adult that you are can make an informed choice for yourself. And then my number 1 tip for you, and I do this actually in the VBAC class because I know that it is so incredibly important. I do this with people. So if you want my support in this, you can purchase a one-on-one call. I will do this with you. This is one of my favorite things to do. And the key is here, you have to process and do the work of working through your first birth. And what I train you in my classes is that you kind of got to bookend it. It's like I imagine, and one of the coping strategies for me in my life, I hope this helps you, is that when I'm dealing with something hard, a lot of times I will think like, okay, I'm going to put this in a box and I get to decide when I'm ready to take that box out, take the lid off, and deal with what's inside. And when I'm not ready, guess what? I have full control. I can put a lid on the box and put it off to the side. The goal being that eventually you end up there. So maybe some of you have been to therapy, you've done the work, you feel fully healed, you feel like it wasn't a big experience, it was fine, it was what it was, then great. Okay, but for those of you who maybe have a little tinge of disappointment, who are a little bit more fearful, who are feeling like you're anticipating your upcoming labor and birth, you have some anxiety around it, you have some unresolved feelings, maybe you feel traumatized through the experience. The problem is that if you don't do the work of processing that previous birth, you will carry it into this next birth. It will affect your experience. It will potentially cause fear, which can slow down labor. So if you want that VBAC success, you have to also understand, and I teach you this in my class, but that the new birth, the new pregnancy is an entirely new experience. That you're starting fresh. That yes, it might be the same uterus, but it's different placenta, different baby, different circumstances. And so just because what happened in the first happened does not mean that it's going to happen in the second. But you have to be able to do the mental work, unfortunately, and hopefully maybe with a professional. Of course, I'm always going to recommend a professional. If you come to me, I will refer you out once I see that like it's getting beyond my scope, because really I provide a listening ear. I help provide perspective. I help ask the right questions, and I help you navigate what are the things you want to take into your next birth that you liked, and what are the things you want to lay aside, which again, I do in my class. So I definitely, if you're interested in a one-on-one call, I'd recommend taking my class first because you might get everything you need through that. But if you're feeling like you have leftover residue, you might need professional help. I love a therapy session. I would go to therapy every day, all day, if I could. I love it. I think it's the most like helpful thing in the entire world. I think there's so many brilliant people that have such good perspective on my life circumstances that can provide tools and resources for you to take that box out, deal with it. It may not be fully resolved. Put a lid on it, set it aside, and go, I'm going to enter into this new birth fresh, with fresh perspective, fresh eyes, knowing what I can control, letting go of the rest, being able to flex and flow, and ultimately helping own my experience and set myself up for that VBAC success. Thanks everyone for being with me here today. If you want more from me, of course, head on down to the description box down below. Head to bundlebirth.com. There's so many things over there. For those of you, my VBAC mamas, please go take my VBAC class. That is there as a resource and a tool to help support you in your journey towards VBAC success. There's also coping with labor classes, newborn skills, safety, and CPR. There's the bundle birth class. I'm gonna recommend a VBAC class first because I think it's probably enough. I don't think you need the bundle birth class, but flex and flow, you can do it all if you want. And then of course, I have a bunch of free resources for you as well. There's a pregnancy checklist down below. There's also a free hospital visualization. At bare minimum, try out the free visualization. If you love it, there's a whole bunch of visualizations you can take into your labor, birth, pregnancy, help downregulate your nervous system, create calm, set you up for that VBAC success. And then until next time, don't forget to flex and flow, and I will see you so soon. Bye. I feel like I naturally am not supposed to have good posture. It is very uncomfortable and I don't like it. I'm teaching you all to help listen to your body. My body does not want to have good posture. I want to slouch, but I can't teach like this. This would be weird, you know? Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I don't care is what it looks like, but I do, I care so much. My back hurts.